because what we're going to do is not normal, and nor is it safe. Welcome to 10-Minute Travels. With me, as always, is Shane Patrick.
And with me, as always, is Phil Freeman. And we're going to talk about riding motorcycles to Prudhoe Bay.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
So you just got back from Prudhoe Bay on a motorcycle.
I did. I just led another group up to the furthest northern point on the road system of North America. And I cataloged it. This was my 18th time on a motorcycle to the Arctic Ocean.
And so is that 18 down and backs, 18 yo-yos?
18 times either driving up, riding down, or both. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Can you say monomaniacal 3 times?
No, I can't actually.
Yeah, it was a fun trip, adventuresome souls. But riding on the Dalton Highway reminded me that it's just not a Sunday drive. It's a little different than just going to the grocery store, so to speak.
And some of it's paved, some of it's dirt, some of it's rocks, and some of it's different based on rainfall grading systems, right? I mean, it's always a week apart. It can be totally different.
It can. Let me give you the full spiel that I do with my riders before we get on the Dalton Highway. I say something like this. I go, today we're going to ride the Dalton Highway. And I do spend a little bit of time trying to scare everybody, because what we're going to do is not normal, and nor is it safe. I say you got 414 miles of chip seal and dirt surface, and you've got big trucks, and you've got steep grades, you've got slippery wood plank bridges, and you've got patches of sloppy road construction. And it doesn't make any sense when or where it's happening. It's all throughout. And chip seal, if you're wondering, people do wonder, is it's kind of like a pavement, but it's a really cheap form with a thin layer, and it contours with the road surface so that with the freeze thaw of winter and summer, it turns into Lumpyville. And when you're on the dirt surface, you've got a calcium chloride sort of foundation or recipe, and that turns into sort of a clay when it gets wet. But when it's dry, if you ride the Dalton Highway, you wouldn't even think twice about going 70 miles an hour. But on a wet day, you really wish that you were on a lighter displacement motorcycle with knob tires on it, and maybe not even on the highway would have been better. But it just depends on the weather. It's like climbing a mountain. It's weather dependent, and you can have 2 different experiences in 2 different days, just that are remarkably different. And you talk to riders that have just come down the highway, and they say, "Oh, it's great," and then you just have just a terrible time trying to get all the way up that highway. And I tell riders, be careful. There's not a lot of traffic, but the traffic you do see are usually truckers. The truckers own the road, and they will, dominate the road. Do not go to the shoulder of the road. Anybody that's driven or ridden that highway knows that 4 feet between the roadway and the shoulder turns into about 4 inches of really soft material. And that type of material, once you get your front tire into it, will throw you into the bushes. And there's even the best riders have trouble getting back on the road. I had a pretty cocky rider in my office 2 days ago, And I was trying to warn him about the road surface, and he goes, "Well, I'm an ex Baja racer, and I've ridden the Baja, and I'm a dirt guy." And I said, "Yeah, but even an AMA Hall of Famer has been thrown off the road. So it doesn't matter your skill set; it just matters to just stay off that shoulder." And the trucks, they dominate the road, so be aware that they're, if it's rainy, they're going to create like this clay type mist, and they're only going 30 or 40 miles an hour on the uphill, and you're going to have to pass them. But when you do, you're going to get your whole windscreen, or your face shield is going to turn into just darkness, and you're going to wipe it once, and then you're going to wipe it again, and then all of a sudden it looks like a 5-year-old's just finger painting on your windscreen or your face shield. So then you flip that up, and then your glasses get it, and then after that, what? So you have to have countermeasures. So you have gloves, and then maybe a towel nearby in your tank bag or something, just to wipe real quick, because there's no way you're going to do the whole Dalton at 30 miles an hour. So you do have to pass these trucks. So that's also a challenge. And then the backhaul trucks are empty, and they're running at up to 90 miles an hour on the flat, straight surfaces. And they're going to catch up to you, and they're going to want to pass you. So you have to find that really thin line between getting too far over to the shoulder to allow them to pass you, but not too far over to the soft shoulder, but also stay on the hard stuff. And you got to let them pass, because if you don't, they will meet you in the parking lot in Coldfoot and have some words with you. And all the truckers talk with each other. They're on CB, and they warn about aggressive riders or riders that cut them too close and what have you. So if you're throwing rocks into a trucker, you're going to hear about it from another trucker. And it's a small world up there, and they all know each other. And I tell them too that there's a complacency that you get when you're riding that highway and you don't see anybody. So you're riding along, you see a muskox, and you want to take a picture. So you stop your bike, you put the kickstand down, you get your camera out, you walk over to the side of the road, and then all of a sudden you notice one oversized tractor trailer coming one way and one coming the other way out of nowhere. And suddenly they need to thread the needle right where your bike is, and you have to pull your bike off the road. This has happened before, but just to let those truckers go by. So find a really safe place to stop and take your pictures, and don't think that you're the only one on the road, because you're not. It's a challenging, and I tell them also the chip seal sections of those of the road is really whoop-de-dooey because of the frost heaves, and you can't let your guard down there either, because potholes tend to be created there, and they'll start as a dime size, and then the trucks will just open them up, and they'll get water in them and freeze, and then next thing you know, you got one that's about 1 meter wide and about 8 inches deep, and they haven't fixed it yet. And then the last thing I tell people too is that, when you're going along and it's a sunny day and you think it's great, this is a very moody road, and it changes dramatically really fast, especially with road construction. And so as soon as you think you've got this thing beat, you round a corner and there's a water truck and a grader, and they're working in tandem, and they create this 3 to 4 inches of slop. And then all of a sudden you are all over the road and just trying to stay upright in the construction zone. So you really can never guard down. It's quite an adventure.
And the weather, like summertime, you're running it only in the summertime on motorcycles. Highs, lows, can it snow?
Yeah, on this last trip, we offer it this trip twice in the summer, once just at the end of May and once in July. And riders ask me the difference between the two, and I say, well, it's a little colder in the beginning of June, but you won't have as much road construction, and it's statistically sunnier. However, when you get to Prudhoe, you're going to be chipping ice off your console when you start up in the morning to leave Prudhoe Bay. But in July, it'll be warmer. But as you know, in the interior of Alaska, that creates its own, weather. And so you'll have these little cloud bursts that will dump a lot of rain in really concentrated areas. And that will affect your ride tremendously, because you come around a corner and all of a sudden it's been raining there really hard for a while. And you just need to be pretty careful there. But it will be warmer in Prudhoe Bay. And you're going from degrees from anywhere. I've been in 104 degrees in Fairbanks and then pulled into Prudhoe at just freezing. And those last 50 miles from the Brooks Range, north of the Brooks Range to about those last 80 miles into Prudhoe Bay, the temperature can plummet 50 degrees.
Yeah, and often high humidity because of the proximity to the ocean. And so 45 degrees can feel pretty cold.
Yeah, especially when you're coming out of the, in cold foot, it can be 80 degrees in the sun and it's nice. And you start the day like that and you put your sunblock on. And then as you're getting closer to the coast, you see that fog bank, that ominous layer there waiting for you. And then all of a sudden it turns into gray and maybe a nice crop. And the temperature just keeps going down. And by the time you get into Deadhorse, you get into the parking lot at our place where we stay, and all you want to do is get indoors because it's just cold.
That was Phil Freeman talking about riding motorcycles to Prudhoe Bay. If you want to learn more about Phil or anything else we do at 10 Minute Travels, check us out at 10minutetravels.com.
And we do want to remind you to make sure that your sense of humor matches your sense of adventure.
And please like, subscribe, and share this podcast on all the platforms.